Hey guys, tonight I am going to talk about a kind of sensitive subject in the autism world, and I know that people are going to disagree with me on both sides of this issue, and so I'm going to kind of dive right into it, and I'm going to give you my point of view of where I'm coming from with this too. When you first have a child who's diagnosed with autism, you first start searching for information about autism, you are very likely to stumble upon a lot of information that is about curing autism. And a lot of people who will claim that they can cure autism and that they can recover your child from autism. And there are a lot of charlatans that are willing to take your money in order to recover your child. I think a lot of it is people who are willing to take advantage of desperate parents who are willing to do anything because they're afraid, and who are willing to try anything because they're afraid. And a lot of times that puts children, innocent children, vulnerable children, in dangerous situations because their parents are scared and desperate. And a lot of the methods that have been used over the years in attempting to recover kids have gone from just uncomfortable and unpleasant to dangerous. And I have very strong feelings about that. I'm not here to try to cure my kids. I don't believe that there's a cure for autism. I believe that Maggie and Tessie are neurologically different than Patrick, and that their brains are different, and that if you took autism away, they wouldn't be the same person. I wouldn't want to take away who they are because I love who they are as people. There are difficulties in their lives and challenges that they face that I wish I could make easier for them. Yeah, I wish we could communicate more easily. Obviously, that's probably one of the biggest struggles, or I do wish I could just erase the eloping thing and make it so that eloping wasn't an issue in our lives. So there are things that I wish I could make easier, but if I had a wand that I could wave, I wouldn't just make them like everybody else. I'm not here searching for a cure, and that's not something that you're going to find on our page. It's just not what our channel is, and it's just not what we believe here. At the same time, our kids are in therapy, and here I'm going to draw on my personal experience. You are not going to hear me say that I have autism, because I don't have a diagnosis of autism. I've had probably 4 of Maggie's doctors in appointments ask me if I think or if I would considering that I could be on the autism spectrum during appointments. So these are doctors that have known me for a while, brought it up and said hey, have you ever thought that maybe you might be on the autism spectrum? Which probably doesn't come across in videos. It's easier for me to sit here and look at a camera lens and talk to a camera than it is to talk to people face to face. Although face to face, I'm actually pretty good too. I have worked my whole life to seem really natural talking to people, and in my head when I'm making eye contact with people, when I am sitting face to face, I'm thinking about how much eye contact to make, and when to look away, and okay, you make this much eye contact, and then people start to get uncomfortable because it's too much eye contact, and then you look away. And those are things that usually in my head, unless I know somebody really well and I'm super comfortable, are things that I'm always thinking about, that I kind of picked up on and taught myself, that didn't really come super naturally. And so I'm not going to claim that I am on the spectrum, but I also feel I know where some of my kids' social awkwardness comes from to obviously a much lesser extent. However, from my point of view, I do feel I understand the importance of having tools that make it possible to move through a world that is made for neurotypical people. I know that it's easier to understand what the social norms are, even when they don't make sense. There are things in this world that don't make sense to me socially, but I have memorized them, even though it's wow, that's weird, and I can do them, even though they don't make sense to me, and it makes life a lot easier for me. And I want my girls to be able to do that because I know how it makes life easier for me. Basically, that is one of the reasons that I thought therapy was important for them, because I know how important learning those things has been for me, and I also know that it was kind of difficult sometimes, picking those things up and figuring those things out. So even though, I mean, I was taught manners, but still, even being taught manners, it can still be, if you just don't pick things up like naturally, being taught manners just isn't quite the same as like what you need, obviously. So anyways, therapy is something that I think is important. I know in the past there have been therapies that were not good and therapies that weren't done in a good way, and so we've been really careful about the types of therapies that we have put our girls into and the therapists that we've gotten for our kids. Basically, for me, why I think that therapy is important, why I think that ABA is important, the type of ABA that we've had our girls in, and speech and OT, because I want them to have the tools that I've seen Maggie acquire. The first like 2.5 years that Maggie was in ABA, for 6 days a week and then 5 days a week, I sat in every single session and saw everything that happened in every single session that she had. So I was there for everything. And so I feel really, really confident in what her sessions are like, and that's also why I feel confident in what Tessie's school, basically, what Tessie's therapy is like, and what Tessie's learning. And we're seeing just Tessie, an explosion in communication in both language and eye contact and interaction. Tessie is so much more interested in us now, just in the last 5 months since she started therapy. She's talking more, she's making more eye contact, and she just wants to be around us more and is more interested in touching us and allowing herself to be held. It's amazing. For me, early diagnosis and early intervention are really, really important, because I think that getting into therapy and giving kids the tools as early as possible makes a difference. And so I'm not looking for a cure, but I do think it's important to give our kids as many tools as we can, and I think that it's important to have those tools as early as possible, because I think it does make a difference. And just seeing how much easier it is for Tessie to pick these things up as a 20-month-old than it was for Maggie. Was 40 months old when she started therapy, and Tessie was 20 months old when she started therapy. And I know that they're different kids and it's really hard to compare, but just the absolute explosion in things that Maggie learned a lot, and she really, really, really learned a lot. But it's mind-blowing how much Tessie has been able to learn. I mean, beyond even anything that we could have imagined. That more than ever has increased how important I believe early intervention actually is. And that is one of the reasons that I do think that some of the studies we've been involved in are so important. I've talked before about the study we go to in Boston, and there's another study that we did a little interview with the news for tonight. That's like this Spark Autism study that is a genetic study where we're going to go, and it's just like a saliva sample, and I think you can do it also through the mail. We're going to the autism lab at MSU where we'll go and do it there. But basically they're doing like kind of like a little genetic registry thing. I like the idea of this study particularly. I don't feel like it's something that's going to help us at this point. Maybe it will, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it has the potential to maybe help people later on, particularly with maybe they'll be able to identify genes, and maybe someday there will be tests that they can do, and maybe those tests can be used to identify autism at younger ages so that therapies can start even earlier. I don't know how it will be used, but I think it's going to be interesting to see going forward what happens. And I'll put the link down to the interview that Tessie and Maggie and I did. The girls were adorable today. They were really cute. Tessie was going up to the news camera and tapping on it. They said it was virtually indestructible, which was a good thing because Tessie definitely gave it a run for its money. That is just kind of my take on a whole bunch of things that people in the autism community talk about when they talk about autism. It's complicated, right? It's really complicated. It's something that's changed from the time when Maggie first got diagnosed, and now, I mean, it has changed over the years. And in part, it's been formed by kind of following the kids' leads. And anyways, that is it for tonight. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that like button, and I will see you guys on Monday. Bye.